Why do organizations need money? How much of such money is needed? Now, these are questions which are always in the mind of the organizational leaders, the people who are looking at the CFO or the CEO, or also the lot of business managers who are running the show with P&L accountability. However, one needs to understand, every person in the organization needs to understand three fundamental things. That an organization needs money for three things. It needs to have profits so that it can give it back to its shareholders or the stakeholders. The organization needs to have money to invest in projects for growth, and the organization needs to have money to be able to manage operations. So it needs to have adequate amount of funds so that it can manage the requirement of raw material, as we talk of the cash flows, pay vendors, and a lot of economic activity which gets generated. So how does the organization get this money? There are three fundamental ways in which an organization gets the money, which we also call as the cash flows, which are depicted in the cash flow statement. First, the way to generate money is by operations. An organization must have profitable operations so that at any point of time it is generating adequate funds through operations. Now, an organization which is not able to generate funds through operations, operational cycle and operational efficiency and profitability, sooner or later will get into a financial trap. The next source of generating funds is through what we call as selling or buying assets. These are the investments that the organization makes. Maybe it has bought a piece of land on which it wants to make a factory later, and it decides due to some other reason to relocate the factory, so it will sell off the existing land. So in one case it will buy the land, or the other case it will sell the land, and these kind of investments that the organization makes, it is bought and sold, and that generates money for the organization. Remember, in either case an investment is being made or diluted. Now, buying of an asset is negative for the cash, selling of an asset generates cash for the organization. And thirdly, the organization can always borrow. It can take debt, or it can raise equity money, which is the financial side of it. An organization which is doing largely the second and the third kind of activities to manage its cash is an organization which will be in trouble sooner or later. An organization which generates sufficient operational revenues, profitability, which it plows back for meeting the needs of money, requirements of money, here will be the organization which will run over time. So for building a sustainable organization, you need sufficient amount of cash. So managers should be able to gauge how much of money. First, of course, they should know how much, why an organization would need money. Second, they should know how much of money is needed for this organization. I was recently in another workshop where a bunch of people told me that it's absolutely important for the organization to handle some slurry which is coming out, which is not a very environmental friendly slurry. Now, this has been happening over time, and the adequate landfills are all consumed, and now a landfill has to be created far away where this thing needs to be, the slurry needs to be pushed in. Currently the slurry was moved in on trucks. Now they were proposing a pipeline to be made so that the slurry can then be pumped into the new pit which is being made. That would have cost some 400 crores. Now obviously the trucks are having a lesser charge, but they are cumbersome. My question was that evaluate this particular thing financially. Do you think your particular organization, which is in an expansion mode, has adequate cash to pump in so much money for a pipeline? Is there an in-between approach which can be followed? Look at the requirement for cash. While the department which was responsible for environment, health and safety was crying hoarse about this, the fact was the management couldn't have sanctioned this kind of investment, a 400 crore kind of investment, because it didn't have cash. So here in an organization there was a conflict between the EHS and the management unnecessarily. The fact is that when this understanding was delivered to the EHS department head, he understood that why is the management not investing? Because there wasn't adequate funds, and when adequate funds come in, that is when they will invest. So the innovation in this kind of a scenario would have happened if there was an in-between found out. So an organization needs to have adequate cash for sustainability, and all the business managers need to understand this aspect, that from where is the organization generating cash and how is the organization using the money. Only when the cash and there is an equilibrium and full harmony in this two, and the organization is generating enough profits, that's only when this model will work. In case the profits are not there, profits are dipping or something, the organization therefore has to look at some other options. Otherwise it will get into option 2 and option 3 for generating money, and that is a trap in which it gets into. There are many organizations which are into what we call a debt trap, which they are unable to get out of, because it's one which is of their own creation, either due to rapid expansion, or I've also seen organizations getting into the debt trap because of their failure to deliver to customers, which at the other side led to liability suits and all that, and therefore the organization just went into a debt.